Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, everyone. I'm with Veronika. She's an amazing TikToker and now YouTuber.
Salam. Thank you so much for having me.
MashaAllah. So today we're going to discuss her revert story, which I do not know. I have no idea what your revert story is. So I'm very excited to know about it. And I love your content. It's so amazing. I love your personality. It shines through in all of your content. So guys, please check it out. Please subscribe, like, watch her videos, MashaAllah. Were you religious before you became Muslim? Did you have a religion? Did you believe in God?
I was always very spiritual. They call it agnostic, I guess. I knew there was something out there, but I wasn't particularly practicing. My parents were not religious, but once again, they believed in God, but they didn't really follow a teaching. So they were just kind of spiritual. So that's how I grew up, and that's what I believed in. And yeah.
Okay, so you had that connection with God, but you didn't follow a particular religion.
Yes. Well, I was actually baptized as Russian Orthodox, but I was very little. I didn't really have, a say in it. It was just something that my grandma insisted on, and we're just kind of like, oh yeah, okay, if it makes you happy, let's do that. So I was about 6 years old when that happened. So I don't really have a lot of memories about that because I don't know, we never really placed a lot of significance on that ritual. Was kind of like my grandma really wanted it, we really respected my grandma, and we just did it. So yeah, but I've never really looked into it into religion in general until I was about 17 years old.
Okay, mashallah. So what religion were you looking into? Is it Islam at 17?
Islam, yeah, because when I moved to New Zealand, I was 15 years old. I actually came here on my own to study. So my parents trusted me a lot in that regard. And while I came here, I come from a very, very small town in Russia. And when I came and moved to Auckland in New Zealand, it's a melting point of cultures. It's so diverse, the ethnic backgrounds, different religious backgrounds. And I was just exposed to all those wonderful people. And I just happened to meet amazing Muslim people. And I just got curious because what I knew about Islam at that point was Western media, Fox News, whatever they were feeding to us, on the television screen. But I just took it as, the truth, like, unfortunately, a lot of people do when they don't pause and question things. So when I had that, association with Islam, and then I suddenly met amazing Muslim people, I'm like, hold up, something doesn't add up. Let's dig further. And I started researching and started asking questions, and I researched for about a year and a half before taking my shahada. And just like many reverts, we just start out of curiosity and we dig around and research further all the way to the point of our conversion.
Yeah. But so you were researching Islam for a year and a half before you became Muslim.
Yes. I just really wanted to make sure it was right for me. And of course, I actually think I would have reverted sooner. But there was always something in the back of my mind, like, what would my family think? I was still a teenager. I was still very young. So I just had those doubts. What would people think? How would I gonna, adjust my life? And I've always been such a good girl. So that was not a problem.
MashaAllah.
But just thinking what would people think in my life and how I'm gonna do this. And I just I really wanted to be 100% sure and kind of wait for that urge, because I'm a very intuitive person and I do a lot of things because they feel right in my gut. And I was basically waiting for that moment to take my shahada. Yeah.
MashaAllah. So how did you become Muslim? Like, what swung it over the edge for you?
Yeah, well, this one is going to be a little bit shocking, but I lost my dad. My dad passed away when I was when I was 18, and after that, a series of events followed that just felt like everything just fell into place, and that made me realize that there's definitely a higher power at play. And that was basically something that pushed me over the edge. And I just intuitively knew it was the right time. After everything that happened, Allah is the one. And I just took my Shahada and I never looked back. It's been over 8 years now, Alhamdulillah.
Wow, so it was how long after your dad's death did you accept Islam?
Well, about maybe 2 or 3 weeks, very, very quickly,
Wow.
because it all unfolded very quickly.
What was going through your mind at that time then?
I just it's such a blur, because when you're going through so much trauma and trying to make sense of things, when you look back on it, it's just like a blur. But I don't know, with Islam, I just saw the light at the end of the tunnel. And with accepting Islam, I was able to find peace and even reason why my dad passed away at that time in my life.
Mm,
It's very hard to explain, but it's
mm.
just made so much sense to me. And I just did it. And I felt really peaceful, and I felt really happy, and I felt like I finally was on the right path for me personally, spiritually.
Wow. So what was it about Islam then compared to like the other religions like Christianity and stuff that you felt like that you connected more with? Because I mean, obviously, after he passed away, you easily could have become Christian, you could have become Muslim, you could have become Jew, you could have become anything, you know?
Well, when I looked at everything, when I was like researching, I couldn't really dispute anything. I
Mm,
just, I would be digging around and be like, well, that makes sense. Well, and that makes sense. And women's rights in Islam, well, that makes sense. And I had all of that theory and had all of that knowledge before I actually converted. So it all made sense to me. And I believed in it for a long time before I even took my Shahada. And then, like, that emotional, I don't know, I just felt through loss, I felt more connected to Allah
mm.
subhanahu wa ta'ala. It's just such a personal connection that I felt. And it, like I said, it was very intuitive, and I just like felt that it was so right for me. And I just did it. Like, it's very hard to explain, but because I
Yeah.
was looking into Islam for so long, and I couldn't find a single contradiction. And that's what did it for me.
So how did your mom react to this? How did if you have any brothers and sisters, how did the rest of your family react to you just becoming Muslim like this?
Yeah, my mom was very supportive, because she always had that trust. Like, my mom is only 20 years older than I am, so like she had me young, and we always been kind of like besties. And her even letting me leave our home and travel all the way to New Zealand at 15 on my own to study, because this is something that I really, really wanted to do. She had that trust in me.
Mm,
And I've proven that I can be trusted, that I do make rational decisions, that I can look after myself. And when I converted to Islam, she was like, as long as you're happy, just do whatever makes you happy. And because it took me a couple of years to actually put my hijab on, I
mm.
think putting the hijab on was more of a shock than me converting to Islam. Just because it's such a visual change. And of
Yeah.
course, with what is happening in the world, Islamophobia is very real. And our loved ones often they feel scared for us. They don't want our safety to be at risk. They don't want us to be a target. They just want us to be safe and happy 100% of the time. So whatever friction does come, with people converting to Islam and putting the hijab on, and their families suddenly giving a bit of a pushback, just because it comes from a place of love. And it's our job to kind of show that what we're doing makes us truly happy. And it happens over time. You can't just, shove your beliefs down people's throat and be like, just accept me just the way I am. This is me now, whatever. It doesn't work that way. And because we're like on a religious high when we first revert, and it's just such an amazing transition that we go through with our life, we just feel like others see what we see,
Yeah.
but they don't, and people don't know what they don't know. So it's our job to be our best versions of ourselves and show that who we are now, and we still are the same people,
Yeah.
but us with Islam is much better for us than without. So, and it didn't even take long, but yeah, mom's always been on board, and after the hijab, she also hopped on board very, very quickly, which I'm very grateful for. I know that a lot of reverts struggle, with family disowning them and just not talking to them, and that's I can only imagine how challenging that would be. So, alhamdulillah, I have my mom in my life, and she accepted me fully after the conversion and putting the hijab on and being a Muslim for the past 8 years.
Mashallah. What about as you're a New Zealander? Were you in New Zealand at the time when they had the big Christchurch situation that happened? What happened there?
Well, I was actually, the shooting happened on my son's due date. I
Wow.
was heavily pregnant and I was very emotional. I'm based in Auckland, so that happened on the South Island of New Zealand, and we were just like watching it all unfold. And I just spent the entire day crying because it was really, really awful what happened. And I was actually amazed how New Zealand government responded to that, which kind of made me feel like I am in the right place.
Mm.
So yeah, but it was truly devastating, and it did affect me for a long time. Yeah, and then I went a couple of days later. I went into labor, and it was just another, roller coaster of my emotions there. But yeah, it truly shook New Zealand. It shook the entire Muslim community in New Zealand. It shook the entire population of New Zealand, and I was amazed how compassionate everybody was. And yeah, I don't think it would happen. Sadly, it wouldn't happen in a lot of countries,
Yeah.
that kind of response.
Wow, that's amazing, mashallah. How do you feel like your life has changed since you became Muslim?
I've actually have never been more confident in my entire life, just because I know exactly who I am now,
Mm.
and I feel very comfortable in my skin. I feel very comfortable in my identity. Because yeah, and I'm actually like the first couple of years when you're still figuring things out, I did all of that privately. Actually, the first 3.5 years, I wasn't on social media, and I'm actually grateful that I wasn't,
Yeah.
because I really needed that time to find myself within my new identity.
Yeah.
So, and I'm really glad it happened off social media, because now that I am on social media and I'm so, open about my life, and that I reverted, and how happy I am now with my choice. And you always get those sneaky little haters. They just
Of
like
course.
sliding into your DMs, into your comments,
Yeah.
their 2 cents, and that doesn't faze me at all.
Of course.
Which I think if I was on social media as a new revert, I probably would have been way more hurt,
Yeah.
and it would have probably caused me to question things, and which of course now doesn't happen, because I feel so solid in my new lifestyle, and
Yeah.
just everything makes sense to me. I have a beautiful, loving Muslim family, alhamdulillah, and my husband's family, they accepted me fully, and it's
Oh.
just we just a big happy family. My mom is here now, and we all just thrive in our intercultural bubble.
That's amazing, mashallah. Oh, that's amazing, mashallah. It's a really interesting story. You went through a lot, mashallah, but you're an absolute gem. You're doing a lot for our ummah, alhamdulillah. Seriously, I'm very thankful for all the work you're doing, and may Allah preserve you and keep you going. I mean, but yeah, thank you so much for coming on my channel. Seriously, I seriously appreciate it. This was Veronika. Everyone, make sure you follow her, check out her stuff, her TikTok, her YouTube, her Instagram. She has everything. Go and check it out. Guys, thank you so much. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam. Thank you so much for having me.
الحمد لله